which is fill in the blanks, right? There are 2 blanks. So in the following sentences, there are 2 blanks for which options have been given. Choose the most appropriate option. Yeah, I looked that up, Pragyam, if you're facing trouble with the report. So here again, for those of you who are new, right, fill in the blanks, we have a couple of strategies. Pretty simple. All we say is, hey, we're going to focus on words surrounding the blank, right? Oops. Surrounding the blank, 1. Right? Why do we do that? Because it helps us with grouping of words, right? Then we also, there are hint words or clue words that help us from the context, right? We also look at the entire meaning that the sentence is given. What meaning does the sentence convey? Right? So these are pretty much the strategies that we look at. So quickly, when you look at this, the criterion for dash a player should be his recent performance, but unfortunately the journalists are dashed to be carried away by earlier successes. Some of you have given me responses. So a couple of clue words. What are the clue words in the context? Quickly, those of you who've been able to answer it, how did you arrive at that? Can you tell me what was the clue word in this? Yes, Rajkumar. Very good, right? So you're looking at performance. That's one of the clue word, right? So when you say performance, you need a neutral word to relate to that clue word. So having said that, condemning, criticizing can be quickly eliminated. Eager is not in the right form and it's not even the right word in the context. Revealing, unrelated word, right? So the criterion for judging a player should be his recent performance, but unfortunately this should be the ideal case. However, what's happening is the journalists are prone to be carried away by earlier successes. So completing the meaning of the sentence. Criterion is yes, another clue word for you. Both criterion and performance helps you with figuring out the answer, right? So in this particular question format, we've just applied the strategy of clue words and hint words. The next one, efforts to dash the issue will not be successful, dash, both sides continue to blame each other. So again, we are trying to understand the meaning that the sentence is giving, right? So unless you do something, you want the issue to be, there is some issue happening, you want it to be successful, right? So efforts to do something so that the issue is successful, it's not going to happen. And then I have if, unlike, whether, because, although. Both sides continue to blame each other. If this is what continues to happen, you're not going to achieve what you're looking for, right? So obviously, even in the second blank, when you're reading the sentence itself, you know the construction. It has to be if. Unlike, whether, because, although, none of these options will fit the blank. Right? Even if you go with, okay, efforts to resolve the issue, efforts to discuss the issue, efforts to address the issue, efforts to settled is not in the right form, so I can safely eliminate option D immediately. Efforts to close the issue. So all of these, except for D, fit the first blank, but if you look at the meaning of the sentence, we're talking about something not being successful. So obviously we need the right word, which is resolve. Right? So ideally, in fill in the blanks, As long as you understand the meaning that the sentence is conveying, focus on keywords in the context, you should be able to quickly arrive at the answer. It will be dash for the management to implement the policy because of the employees dash to change. So again, what are your keywords in the context? Understand the context. Management is trying to implement something. Yes, yeah, sometimes if you get stuck in the first blank, move on to the second blank. Don't waste time, right? You might find your answer in the second blank. So this again, some of you have come back and said B, some of you are saying D, right? Let's look at it. So it will be dash for the management to implement the policy because of the employees dash to change. So even if I say it will be, let's go option by option, right? If I say option A, it will be inconvenient for the management to implement the policy. Because of the employees willing to change, I need something else, right? For the second blank. Willingness. The first word seems okay in the first blank, but the second blank, it's not in the right form, right? If I need to put the second word here, I need willingness. Right? It's not in the right form. Out. B. It will be complicated for the management to implement the policy because of the employees' concern to change. Now, logically, in the context, right, what is the meaning that the context is giving? The management is finding it difficult to implement the policy. Why? Why would a management find it difficult to implement a particular policy? Just look at it from from an office point of view. You're trying to introduce something new, but not necessary that every policy employees welcome it or appreciate it, right? Sometimes, mostly, if you ask me, employees are so comfortable with what is existing, they don't want change, right? They don't want to accept change. So keeping that in mind, we're not talking about how complicated or how easy the policy is. That's not the context. We're just saying the employees don't want change. Let's look at again C, option C. So B, it seems like the words fit in the blank, but it's not giving us the right meaning. C, it will be burden for the management. If I have to use the first word, what do I need to change? Eureka, you come back and said option C. But I can't use burden as it is. I need to make some change to burden. What change do I need to make? Anybody? I need to have burdensome. It's not in the right form. So I can't use that. It will be burdensome for the management to implement, not in the right form, because of the employee's decision to change. Yeah, the second blank seems fine, but then again, I can't use it because the first blank, the word is not in the right form. D, it will be impossible for the management to implement the policy because of the employees' resistance to change. Resistance means they're not willing to change, right? So, resistance to change, in fact, is grouping of words. We've heard people use that in various contexts. When we read something, we've come across this expression, resistance to change. It's a collocation, right? So, seems like our best bet, option D. Let's look at E. It will be critical for the management to implement the policy because of the employee's character to change. Doesn't make sense at all. Very illogical, both the words in both the blanks, right? I can safely eliminate option E. Hopefully no one came back and said option E, right? So the answer is D. It will be impossible. So unless and until the employees welcome it, unless and until the employees are open to change, it's going to be difficult for the management to implement this policy, right? That's the meaning the context is giving. Yeah. So couple of things, pointers for you is you also need to understand how a particular word has different forms and how it is applicable in a context, right? For example, some of you who came back and said C, you need to make sure I can't apply burden as it is in this concept, which means you need to be aware that there is another form for this word called burdensome, which is the most appropriate word in this context. Now, if you are not familiar with that, then you might end up choosing the wrong option. So that's why I keep saying every time you learn a word, right, new and unfamiliar words, always understand what are the different forms in which that word appears in a context. It becomes easier for you to not only remember that word, retain it and recollect it at the time of the examination. Rajesh, I just explained that. Why burden can't be used? Because it's not in the right form. I have a burden for this person. Right? Noun form in that context. Let me quickly put some example sentences. Right? So in this context again, guys, we need a adjective form. It is describing how the management will be or the condition. It is describing the condition. So here I need a adjective form. The adjective form of burden is burdensome. So that's why I need to understand, okay, this is the form I need in this context. I don't need a noun form, which is burden. I need an adjective form, because it's describing the condition in which the management will feel. It will be burdensome for the management. Yeah, are you following? I don't know who asked that question. Why is it not burden? It will be burdensome for this person to take on this responsibility. Right? Let me just put that down. Yeah. So in this context, what am I saying? I'm again saying, I'm describing the state in which Surya will feel if he takes up this responsibility. I need a adjective form. Following? Yeah? That's fine. It's the same thing, Surya. So if you know that, boss, this is what I need. Willingness is a noun form. It will be inconvenient for the management to implement the policy because of the employee's unwillingness to change. Yes, correct. So if they're not willing to change, then it's going to be a problem. Correct. Yeah, that's understanding the meaning that the context is giving. Also helps you in eliminating wrong answer choices.